friends, welcome back to my channel. It's a Monday. I'm actually starting my vlog on a Monday, and I'm feeling pretty okay. I had a rough week last week and I'm still trying to recover a little bit, but I'm pretty excited about this week's vlog. So let's just get right into the plans for the week. As far as life, I don't really have a lot going on. I have an appointment with my psychiatrist, and of course I have therapy, but other than that I don't really have much going on. But I plan to read, and I'm pretty excited for what I'm reading. In last week's vlog I made a reading tracker for all of the unread series that I have open and unread, obviously, and so I decided to knock some of those out. So in this here vlog I will be reading the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, and I'll also be reading the Stolen Heir series. Both of these series I have read the first book, but I need to reread them because I don't remember anything. I think I gave both of them 3 or 4 stars the first time I read them, but I want to finish up the series just to see how I feel. The Once Upon a Broken Heart series is 3 books. The Stolen Heir series is 2 books. So I've already started the Once Upon a Broken Heart. I started it last night. Like I said, I've already read it, so I'm just rereading the first one, and I am 17% of the way through the first one. So this is a fantasy, and it follows Evangeline. It's kind of like a fairy tale, and it reads like a fairy tale, but it's about Evangeline. In the beginning of the novel, she makes a deal with the Fates, and she makes a deal with something Hearts, is that he will stop the wedding of the guy that she's in love with to her stepsister in exchange for 3 kisses of his choice, not to him but to 3 people that he chooses. She finds that the wedding has been turned to stone. Everybody's been turned to stone. She saves them and wakes up like 6 weeks later, and they had tried to have the wedding again and it went terribly wrong. He's now like the hero of this town. Like, she's been written about in the papers and everything because people think she basically saved a bunch of people's lives. And so she gets a letter from the princess and the viscountess of this place. It's the 2 women from the Carval series. I read the first one and hated it, so I haven't read that series, but they're connected. And they tell her that they've been invited to a ball / like wedding engagement situation in another kingdom, but they can't go there right now, and they think that she would be like a good emissary, so they send her on her way, and she has the chance to attract the attention of the prince from that kingdom and like get married to him or whatever. Like I said, I've read this book previously. It's very whimsical and fun. It feels very transportive. Hopefully this go round I enjoy it more, and then we can go on to the rest of the series. But that's kind of the plan for this video. We're gonna read those 2 series. Hopefully I really like them. I don't know what we're gonna do for the rest of the week. I am currently listening to, I guess there's another series that I want to finish in this vlog. I'm currently listening to Fellowship of the Ring. I have read The Hobbit all the way through, and I've tried to read the original trilogy and I just couldn't do it. But I decided to pick up the audiobook because I rewatched the movies recently and really loved them, and I wanted to give the books another shot. I've read the first one. I've never continued with the series, so I guess that's another one that we're going to continue if my library has all of the audiobooks like readily available. Obviously I don't need to explain what Lord of the Rings is about, but I am 21% of the way through that one as well. Those are the things that I'm going to be reading in this vlog. I need to get to work. I'm running late, so we'll probably talk again later. I'm going to try to read Once Upon a Broken Heart at work, and then I'm debating, I'm trying to be good, but I'm debating and going and getting the editions at Barnes & Noble. I don't like the US editions. I prefer the UK, which is like the pictures that I'm using is the UK edition, but the only place I've been able to find them is Pango, and I've been able to find them on Amazon, but it seems like the editions are like messed up because I can only get them in paperback, and the paperbacks are like not the same size, which is not a huge deal because I do have my books in rainbow order, so they won't be like next to each other, but I don't know, we'll see. I'm like trying to be good and not purchase them, especially because I haven't read them and I tend not to do that, but I've been like drooling over these covers, the UK covers, for years now at this point. So we'll see what I do. We'll see if I end up getting them. I'm probably gonna end up getting them, but it probably won't be in this video. Anyways, I need to get to work.
Going to deadly peril. Of course we understand, said Mary Thorpe, but we're going to do our our best to help you against the enemy. The ring, said Frodo, not completely amazed. Yes, the ring, said Merry. My dear old hobbit, you don't allow... I dreaded this evening. Good, that's settled. 3 cheers for Captain Frodo and company, they shouted, and they danced round.
I'm here. We're just gonna look. We're just gonna look. We're just gonna look. So they didn't have the editions that I wanted, aka all paperback or all hardback. So I got a book that I was not even going there for instead. Because look at this floppiness, and I want to read this year, maybe. Happy Tuesday, friends. It is Tuesday morning, and I thought I would give you an update before I go into work. I actually just like read a ton yesterday. I was listening to a lot of my audiobook of The Lord of the Fellowship of the Rings. I got 44% of the way through, so I have 11 hours and 8 minutes left. I'm listening at 1.75 speed because I usually listen at 2, but the narrator has a bit of an accent, and with the like, it just started all blend together, so I needed to slow it down a little bit. And then I also got 45% of the way through Once Upon a Broken Heart. I forgot to say, for Fellowship of the Rings, we just got to the part where he meets Aragorn, and they're like now linked up. But for Once Upon a Broken Heart, She is engaged to Prince Apollo, and she's trying to like figure out what's really going on. Had to work with Jax the Fate twice. She hasn't been able to figure out what he wants yet, so I'm liking both of them very much. I'm definitely liking Fellowship of the Rings more than I did the first time that I read it, which was also my experience with The Hobbit. I ended up giving The Hobbit a pretty high rating last time I read it, which was not the experience the first time. I think I've just come around to a bit meandering, a bit slow feeling of the Lord of the Rings and the way that Tolkien writes, which I appreciate. So I'm having a good time reading. I also have the Belladonna series coming. I'm probably gonna start those in this vlog if I finish the other books that I'm reading. Obviously, I have a ton of books to get through already, but I did read Belladonna back at the end of last year, no, earlier this year, and so I need to finish that as well. So I really like that one, and I feel like it fits the kind of theme of this video. That's that. I'm gonna go to work, listen to my audiobook, read my book. I'll give you some thoughts whenever I'm back home. I mentally am feeling better. I have my appointment with my psychiatrist today, and then, like I said, therapy on Thursday, so I have some support and some help, which is nice and reassuring, and it always makes me feel like things can't be that bad, and I just need to like hold off, you know, another couple of days, which is a good feeling, I think. I do think I want to give you guys a tour of my journal later on. I set this up a couple of vlogs ago, and I've gotten some people interested in seeing an update and like some spreads and stuff, so I think I'm gonna do that. I might start incorporating this in my vlogs. It wasn't something that I originally wanted to really include because a lot of the spreads are pretty personal, but we'll see. We'll see what I end up doing. We'll come back. I'm hoping to finish Once Upon a Broken Heart today. Fingers crossed. I'd really like to get on to the second one because I still need to read Stolen Heir and Prisoner's Throne, so like that whole duology. So I need to start making some moves if I want to read all the books that I wanted to read this week. Let's get into it. Let's get into the day. I'm gonna head off to work, and we will talk later.
There's actually a great deal less of me. I hope the thinning process will not go on indefinitely. Or I will lead to the westward slopes. But then again, it was the night of the 5th of October, and they were 6 days out from Brie. In the morning they found her, for the first time since they had left the jetwood, a tank lay in the sea. They turned right.
Hi friends, happy Wednesday. Today is a day, is all I'm gonna say, and I love you and I hope you are doing okay. I am coming to you from my new filming corner. This is gonna be my new reactions situation for when I film react videos. So I threw a lot of tantrums putting everything in place because I wanted all of the posters to like line up so that it didn't drive people crazy. I am here because I thought it could be nice to unbox the Fairy Loot from October. Oh, let me not like flash my address to everybody. So opening up, this is the spoiler card, and we have the bookmark that matches. We have this photo book. I love this design. We have gotten tons of photo books out of boxes like these. I think I have 2 or 3 at this point somewhere on my shelves, but I love this one. I love the cat in the middle. It's like not typical photo sleeves. Bookmark collection. Yeah, that makes sense. That's actually so cute. Next up, we have a powerless e-reader sleeve. This is actually perfect because I need something for my Kindle. I just like raw dog carry it around, to be entirely honest with you. But the inside is purple. It has this little decoration on it and it's super soft. I love this texture in particular. It's like one of my favorites. We have air overlays from this month's featured books. So I just spoiled it, but this book is from Saba to Here. These go in the book in certain scenes, and you have like a guide on it to see what scene lines up with. So I'm guessing this is like a fantasy romance maybe, or at least it has a romance in it. I've only read one book by this author, the first book in her like most popular series, so I don't know too much about her books. I didn't love the book, so I never continued. Next thing we have is salt and spice shakers. So this is the spice shaker. It looks like a little book. That is very cute. And then we have the salt. Again, it looks like a little book. And then lastly, we have the book, and we should have some character cards as well. I'm seeing some black sprayed edges. So these are the character cards to go on my wall, my ever-expanding wall that I need to get more tack for. So this is Castles Crumbling is the theme. So we have black sprayed edges. Yeah, this book is gorgeous. I love the gold details. The spine is stunning. The back I love. The sprayed edges have some gold foiling details as well. The front of the naked hardcover does as well. It looks like a little airplane of some sort. And then the back is also gorgeous. Love that. With that, some moon and stars, which is lovely. This is gorgeous. It's more of like a blue, like a really dark blue in person. It looks kind of, there you go, you can kind of see it's like a dark blue, and this is a really good representation of the color of the cover. This is the inside that you can like reversible, but this is more the color that you get on the cover as well. I don't love this. This is reminding me a lot of The Hobbit. That's like my first thought is the Hobbit cover. I definitely prefer the traditional cover of it, but this is a gorgeous book. It says an orphan, an outcast, a prince, and a killer who will bring an empire to its knees. Saba to Here masterfully interweaves the lives of 3 young people as they grapple with the burdens of power, love, and unchecked greed. Get ready for a dark and breathless journey that may cost these young people their lives and their hearts, literally. So, very nice, very gorgeous. I definitely am going to be putting this on my blue shelf, proudly displayed. Those sprayed edges are just stunning. So this is definitely my favorite thing from this box, and I'm excited to read the book. Alright, so let's talk about what I'm reading. I'm 67% of the way through Fellowship of the Ring. I need to finish it today because it expires. It returns to my library soon. I'm overall enjoying the story, but this portion that we're at right now is like truly awful. We're in Rivendell with the elves, and they're like making plans for what they're gonna do with the ring, and it's pretty bad. It's pretty awful. I would say the last 2 hours have been just talking and like recounting stories and singing songs, and it's tough. The songs are like particularly annoying in my opinion, just across the story. I'm a little like brain dead from life in general, but also from what's going on in the story right now. I'm hoping that they'll get out of Rivendell soon, because 2 hours of just straight talking is crazy. And then I also finished Once Upon a Broken Heart. I finished it last night, and I actually liked it more the second go round than I did the first time. Like, I liked it the first time, but I found a lot more to like this go round. I love this world, and I love Stephanie Garper's writing in this world. I'm so intrigued by fates and the magic system and the like fairy tale-esque feeling of it. Evangeline is such an interesting character, and she's so incredibly flawed but so like optimistic. It's hard to like not root for her, but she's interesting for sure. She definitely doesn't make the best decisions, and then the worst things happening. So I also started the second one last night, and I think I got like 20 or 30% of the way through. I won't talk about the plot or anything because I obviously don't want spoilers, but I'm liking the second one more. I'm definitely moving a lot faster through it. I feel like the first one was a lot of setup, which I'm not complaining about. I feel really grounded in the world, and I'm just excited to see where the story goes from here. I am very much in it, and I'm fascinated by Evangeline and Jax's story. I'm interested to see how we go from where their relationship is at to like a love story. There's just so many twists and turns to the story that I'm really liking, and yeah, I'm a big fan. I think it's whimsical, it's fun, it's a little bit daring, and it's twisty and turny, and it just is one of those reads that just completely consumes your thoughts and consumes your brain, which is exactly what I need right now. So I'm definitely a fan of it, and I can't wait to keep reading. So the rest of the day at work, I probably am going to listen to the audiobook of Fellowship of the Ring, but I'm not optimistic that I'm gonna love it. So that's what I'm gonna be doing the rest of my work day. We'll talk a little bit later on. I would like to get through the second book, the Once Upon a Ballad of Never After, I think is what it's called. I'd like to get through that today because I still have 6 books that I want to read, and it's Thursday, so. We have to talk about A Ballad of Never After because I couldn't sleep last night. That seems to be like a trend lately. And I finished the entirety of The Ballad of Never After last night. And I got 40% of the way through the last one. I probably should know the name of it. A Curse for True Love. But let's talk about A Ballad of Never After. I fucking loved this book. Like, 5 stars. So stunning. So good. I'm blown away with how much I enjoyed it, honestly. I think going into the second one, there was a lot about the story that I liked, but I had some issues. I felt like Evangeline was an interesting character, but I didn't really understand all of her decision making, and also I wasn't the biggest Jax and Evangeline fan, like a fan of their romance. I liked Jax as a character. I thought he was interesting, and his role in her life played a pivotal part, and I thought that it was well done. But I didn't really fully believe their romance, and girl, I am 100% on board. Listen, I'm a romance girl. It's easy for me. You give me one caretaking scene and a damaged hero, and I'm like, we're here, we're connected, fully on board, like, give it to me now. And that is what I got out of this book, and there were so many tender moments between them, and moments where I was like, yes, Jax is fully in love with her, fully obsessed with her, like has been from the beginning, and I loved it so much. I loved the plot of the second book. I loved the continuation of the plot lines from the first one. I liked the plot lines that were wrapped up. I thought the whole novel was just incredibly well done. The growth of the relationships, the growth of the characters. The cliffhanger is truly diabolical. Like, truly the most evil thing that I have ever read in my life. I'm flabbergasted. I loved it so much. And so I immediately started the third one and got 41% of the way through, and we finally got the point of view of the hero, and I'm like, ugh. We've only had it one time, and it was exactly what I needed. Like, I'm just so fully into everything about the story. Like, the plotline that's happening right now, and the way that they're gonna come together, and, like, the way that Jax is, like, showing up in her life right now is just, like, oh my god, it hurts my heart, and it's just incredibly well done, and I'm so surprised, and I'm very glad that I decided to go ahead and buy some UK editions. Yep, I did. I surely did, and I don't regret it for a second. They'll be here Wednesday, so I'm just so in love with the story, and the reread ability is so exciting. Like, I know that I'm just gonna love it more and more every time, and that I'm gonna find stuff to love every time, and I am so happy that I finally, that I decided to give this series a second chance, because I read the first one the first time and wasn't really on board with it, didn't love it a ton, and then I was like, you know what, let's give it another shot, and I'm so happy that I did, because this might be my favorite series of the year. Like, granted, I haven't read that many series this year, but I'm just like, I'm blown away. I didn't think I would love it this much, and I truly do. It had me, like, giggling and kicking my feet, and, like, I could feel the pain, and every romance reader knows exactly what I'm talking about. The angst, the pain, the sweet, tender moments, like, I could just feel it all in my body, and that's how I know that I'm in love with a relationship, because I'm very much all in my head, and thank you. Okay, we're having to move because my cat just knocked over my entire cup of coffee. So, the fact that I am very much all above the neck, I'm not really in tune with what's going on in my body, but when a romance can make me feel it in my chest, in my heart, in my stomach, you know it's a good one. On the flip side of that, I did end up finishing the Fellowship of the Rings. I don't know if it was because I got the, like, super unabridged version. There's, like, a 2-hour version, that's the abridged version. There's, like, a 14-hour version, and then a 21-hour version. Maybe I should have gone with the 17-hour, because, yeah, it was kind of bad. It was kind of awful, and it made me not want to continue the series for the moment. So I think I'm gonna put that series on hold and come back to it at a later date, because the pacing was really bad. But that's it. I'm gonna go back to reading the last book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart, The Curse, whatever, and probably talk to you guys when I'm done with it, because I'm already 40% of the way through, and I'm, like, flying through it. But I need to go make another cup of coffee. So, we'll talk later. just finished the third book in the series, A Curse for True Love. I also gave this 5 stars. I don't have anything new to say that I haven't already said in another clip, but this was a stunning series overall. I'm just so excited about the idea of like more stories in this series. I liked the way that it ended. I know that's kind of an unpopular opinion. It seems like people felt disappointed about the way that the story wrapped up, but I liked it. I think it fit with the story that we got and sort of like the vibes of and the way that fairy tales tend to be structured. I really liked it, and I'm very much anticipating other stories in this world with these characters, and I loved the wrap up of Evangeline and Jax's story. I loved their relationship, and the like change in my perspective of these books as the story went is just truly stunning. I was considering going back and reading Caraval, but I don't think I'm going to. I already kind of know what happened, and I'm just not very excited about the story itself. So I think I'm just gonna read from this series forward, and I feel fine with that. But overall, fantastic series. I loved it so much. I think it's so good. If you are even remotely interested in the story and you go in with the expectation that it reads like a fairy tale where everything is very glitz and glamour, but you can kind of feel this like foreboding, rotten interior of the story, then you'll really like it. And I loved Evangeline's character. I liked Jack's character. I liked their romance. I liked their relationship together. Great series. I can definitely see myself rereading it in the future. I kind of want to reread it now, but I won't. So that just tells me that I love the series, and I'm not far enough removed from it to be able to identify any issues, and I feel okay with that. Like I don't feel like I need to point out every bad thing about the story. Like I don't feel like I need to come to you with like cons for the story. I loved it. I loved the way that it ended. I loved the arc, the progression of the story. I like where we left off. I am leaving the series feeling very satisfied, and that's really all I could ask for. So definitely like a 5-star series in my opinion, and yeah, I'm excited to reread it. But that means we need to move on to our next series, which I'm pretty excited about because it is only 12 o'clock. By the way, my wallpaper is now Once Upon a Broken Heart themed, so but I'm pretty excited to move on to this. I read Holly Black's books pretty quickly. I think I read the Folk of the Air trilogy in one time. I've reread that series like 3 or 4 times at this point, and I think one of those times I reread the whole thing in like one day. So I'm pretty optimistic that I'll be able to at least finish this series today, and hopefully move on to Belladonna before we end the vlog, because I would really like to get that series started as well. I don't think I'm going to reread the first one in that series just because I did read it so recently, and I feel like I kind of remember most of the details, but this one I definitely don't remember. It's been a long time. So we're gonna start The Stolen Heir. This isn't very long. It's only like 350 pages, and like I said, I read Holly Black's writing pretty quickly. Her stories are great. This takes place after the events of the Queen of Nothing. This follows Oak, who is Jude's brother, and he's like grown up, and we're also following a runaway princess from a rival kingdom. I gave this book 4 stars the first time I read it, but I don't remember anything. I just remember enjoying the reading experience, but it not being like super impactful. So I would be interested to see how I feel this go round. That's a similar experience that I had to the Folk of the Air trilogy. I really liked it the first time I read it, and then after I reread it several times, like I grew obsessed with the series. So I'm definitely excited to reread this, move on to the second one, and see how I feel, and finally get this series off my plate. So we're gonna dive into this and see how it goes. It is the evening now. It's like 5 o'clock and I have been reading pretty slow, like slower than I thought. Mostly I've been watching this stuff. But I am halfway through the Stolen Heir, and I thought I would give you guys an update on my thoughts and how it's going so far. So basically, this is about Ren. She was a changeling. When she was like 6 or 7, her parents brought her back to Elfhame, the Fae world. We met her in the previous trilogy. She was basically the queen of her kingdom, but her parents really heavily abused her. They kept her on a leash and she just wasn't allowed to like be a person really. She wasn't allowed any freedoms or anything. And not to spoil the 3rd book in that series, just in case for some reason you have read it, but she ends up getting away. Her mother goes into hiding. She goes back to the human world and she kind of like hangs around with her like original mortal human family. But one evening she's being hunted down by someone who was part of her parents' court. She's afraid that they'll go after her real, like her human family, and so she runs and she gets saved by Oak. Oak is the brother of Jude from the original trilogy. He's like the heir to the throne. They're like the high king and queen or whatever of Elfhame. He goes on this adventure, this expedition to save his father, who has been kidnapped by Ren's mother. Ren's mother is trying to amass an army. They need Ren to stop her because Ren has power over her mother. I'm halfway through, like I said, and I'm liking it. It feels very similar to the original trilogy, and the writing is very similar, the world feels very similar. So in that way, because I have read, I don't remember what that other series is called, like the title, but the like Cruel Prince series, because I've read it so much, I am just like really familiar with the sort of like beats of the writing and the story and the world and all of that. So it feels very easy for me to like fall back into all of those things. I wouldn't say I'm as intrigued as I remember being with the Cruel Prince. The stories are just very different, and I tend not to be someone that loves like travel stories, which is part of the reason why I like Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. So like for me, I'm not hating it, but I'm not like completely obsessed with it. I'm very interested in how the story goes, and I like the characters and I like being back in the world, but it's not like my favorite story of all time, and it's not necessarily an installment that I feel like we needed, and I don't necessarily know that I like needed these characters' stories. Try to finish it and at least get halfway through the second one tonight before I go to bed. I would really like to finish both, but I'm reading a little bit slower than I was anticipating, so we'll see. I definitely should be able to finish this, hopefully get halfway through the second one, and then I would really like to start Belladonna. I think the second one's called Wisteria tomorrow, so that's the hope. I'm gonna finish this. I'll give you my final thoughts when I'm done, but the cats are screaming at me to go feed them, so I'm gonna get back to reading after I have fed the cats. So I am 60% of the way through The Prisoner's Throne, I think is what the second one's called. Finished The Stolen Heir last night. So first of all, Stolen Heir. I liked it about the same as I did the first time. I think when I updated you guys at the 50% mark, I said that I wasn't obsessed with it, and I didn't feel like it was a needed book, and I do still agree with those thoughts, but I ended up enjoying the story. I stuck with a 4-star rating for that book. And then I started The Prisoner's Throne last night. I got about 20% of the way through until I fell asleep, and then I read this morning. I was gonna give you guys a 50% update, but honestly, the first 50% of this book I was not liking at all. It did not feel like Holly Black's writing at all. It did not feel like a book in this world. And I'm pretty disappointed about that because this is written from Oak's point of view. The first one is written from Ren's point of view, which I like. I would prefer that both of them were both dual POV, but I like that we're now getting Oak's point of view. After the events of the first one, the way that the first 50% of the second one took place, I just didn't like. It didn't capture any of like the fun and whimsy of this world. There's always an undercurrent of like wickedness to these stories, and there's always some like dark things going on, but I think it captures the original feeling of like the Fae very well, where it's wicked and cunning and evil and self-serving and selfish, but also fun. I don't think that I could feel any of that. Like the writing itself just didn't even feel similar to what I have come to expect from Holly Black, so I wasn't enjoying that. However, now we're back in Elfheim, and I do feel like we're back to the same feelings. I got 60% of the way through, and that 10% was like great. I was enjoying myself. We got back to Elfheim. We were like talking to our characters, and I felt like a little bit of that spark was back. And I don't necessarily think that it was because of the location, because in the first book we were in the same place as the first 50% of this book, and yet I still felt like the feeling of the story matched, but the first 50% of this just did not. And so I struggled to get through it, really, honestly. Like this book I think is the same length as the first one, and I blew through the first one. Whereas with this one, I was constantly checking my percentage to see how much I had read, and it just felt like the story wasn't going anywhere. But the second half seems to be doing better, much more about like political maneuverings, which I appreciate. That's kind of the typical, I would say, plot for these novels, is like a lot of political stuff. But it's like political romance sort of thing. I'm enjoying this last half more. We'll see if that feeling persists, but I can't see this being like a 4-star just based on the first half being real rough to get through. So it's about noon, so I probably am gonna finish this up. I might start the second book in Belladonna and then give you guys my initial thoughts on that and then wrap up the vlog, but we'll see how long this takes for me to get through. So we'll talk when I'm done. Okay, let's talk about The Prisoner's Throne. The only reason that this wasn't a 2-star was because of the last like 10 pages, okay? I'm a sucker for these characters. Like, I love them so much from the first series, and seeing them like a where are they now situation, and seeing everything resolve itself and then be back to this like found family situation. I love it. I didn't love the book. I still stand by my initial assessment that I didn't need these characters' stories in this world, but I read it and I'm glad that it's off my list. But yeah, I hated the conclusion to this. The second book was not good. I don't want to rant about it any more than I did in the last clip, so we're just gonna move on to our next series that we're reading, and that is Belladonna. I am going to be reading the second book in the series first. Obviously, I've read the first one, the second one being Foxglove. This is a YA gothic fantasy romance situation. This is about Signa, and she has always had a connection to death. When she was a child, she's kind of involved in like this cult mass suicide situation, and she's the only one that survives, and that's the first instance, the first brush with death that she had. She eventually gets taken in by her grandmother, who is very loving and wants the best for Signa. She wants Signa to be out in society, find a great love, get married, settle down, and just have like a good life. Unfortunately, that grandmother dies, and Signa gets passed down from relative to relative, and they're not all, none of them are really as loving and attentive as her grandmother was, and they all die pretty quickly, so she kind of just gets passed around. The first chapter, we're introduced to her current guardian, who is just terrible. Signa is very well versed in plants, especially toxic plants, and she has been like poisoning herself a little bit every single day because she's fascinated with poisons and death and all of that. And she gets a letter from her uncle, who she's supposed to go and stay with. She finds out that her uncle has this like palatial mansion, he has 2 kids, he's recently widowed, and he's gonna be her guardian. And this guy Silas comes and takes her there. They have a bit of banter back and forth, and when she gets to Thorngrove, cousin is dying from the same death that her aunt died from, and there's just a lot of family secrets going on. But in general, she kind of finds like a place and a sense of community with the family. Even though there's a lot of secrets going on, she still feels like this is the place where she's meant to be. She has this relationship with Silas, she has her run-ins with death, and in the interim she's trying to solve the murder of her aunt, and also who is currently poisoning her cousin. So there's quite a bit going on in this story. I think this story blends romance and plot and mystery and atmosphere very well together. Signa is a character that just feels very well fleshed out, very thought out in the author's mind. You can tell that she had a vision of who Signa is as a person and where her arc is going to go, and she's executed that very well. I would say that the weakest part of this is there is like a love triangle situation between Signa, Silas, and Death, and like there's obviously a very clear winner in that love triangle, but it's for a purpose, it's for a reason, and it all kind of works itself out at the end of the first one. With keeping things pretty vague, because I don't want any spoilers, at the end of this one, we have resolved the mystery of the first book, and we have a new mystery coming up. We now have a bunch of different types of like fates and gods coming into Signa's life, and she is working with one of the fates. I think it might be fate or time or something. She's working with that entity to solve this new mystery in this one. So she resolved the issue of the murder, and her family is kind of settled. So going into this one, I believe we're trying to solve that murder. I think we're still at Thorngrove, and we know that her relationship with Death is a little bit like distant. He was teaching her how to use her powers. He believes that she is a reaper, and she has the ability to like go through walls and evade death and all of that, and so he's never seen anybody that has the same abilities as her, and he was kind of teaching her how to use her powers. But now that all of the plot lines and mysteries and stuff in the first one have been resolved, there isn't really a reason for them to interact. He doesn't really have a reason to like keep coming back. I'll be interested to see how their relationship progresses in this one. I'm pretty excited to get back into this world. I really liked my time here, and I'm excited to get back into the writing. The writing in particular is just very lush and gothic, and it just fits this kind of like eerie, almost fairy tale-esque writing that I love. This creeping feeling of just like something is not right, something is going wrong, there are secrets here that we don't understand, and we're kind of just along for the ride like the main character is, and I'm excited to see how the story goes. But that is enough yapping about what this is. I'm just gonna jump right into it, and I will probably give you just my initial thoughts, and then we'll end the video. So okay, so I am 50-ish pages into Foxglove. I'm very, very excited that I decided to start reading this. I'm already in it. I'm already in with the writing. I'm already in with the characters. I'm very excited to see where the mystery goes. And I just have a feeling that this is gonna be even better than the first one. So like I said, in this one we're solving a mystery. It still involves the Hawthorne family, who is like her cousins and stuff to a certain extent. And we do have like other entities involved. And we got a new point of view of a character that I'm very excited for. So overall, I think this is gonna be a really good one. And I'm excited to read this and then go on to the third ones. But that's it for this video. I want to make sure that I have it up for you guys on a Sunday. I know that tons of people are looking for comfort right now, so I want to make sure that if people are searching for it, they can find it, and I want this to hopefully be a source of that for some people. So I want to get this edited tonight and get it out to you guys tomorrow, so that if you are looking for the routine of watching my videos on a Sunday, that you have it. And I'll probably be spending the rest of the evening editing, but I'm immediately going to start a vlog tomorrow to talk about this and the third one and some other series that I plan on reading possibly. That's it for this video. I really hope that you are staying safe and happy and doing what you can to take care of yourself. I hope that you enjoyed the video. I would love to talk down below about anything that you've read, anything happy that's happened for you over the last week. Please consider subscribing if you liked this video and you're looking for more content from me. I do tons of different types of content. My backlist of videos is varied. You can find probably anything that you would want there, so I would hope you consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in my next one.